and welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for nonsensical times. My name is Bee, my pronouns are she, they, and I am the resident numerologist.
My name is Gina. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the resident astrologer.
And my name is Meg. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the resident tarot reader.
And this monthly forecast for June 2026 is going to take us to the halfway mark of the year.
This year has both felt like a decade and also 1 month, and so I don't know how we're halfway, but we are. So,
Very strange.
Yeah, I think pacing has been very inconsistent in this wheel year that we're
Yeah.
in.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Which is also, I think, going to be reflected at least in my part of the forecast. So,
Yeah, mine too. I think I literally am starting with like, hey, reminder, we're in a 10-1 year. That means something different. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get too far into it, I will just announce again that I have a little bit of new everything going on over here. So please update your address books for me. My new website is www.beescolnick.com. My newsletter is now called Common Denominators, and it is on Beehive. So that's commondenominators.beehive.com. You can find all the links to everything on my website. And my new email address, if you want to email me, is bskolnick@pm.me, just because I wanted to be difficult, you know. And all that will be in the show notes. So please check out my new site and my newsletter, and I'll see you on the web.
I have a newsletter called Astrology for Writers. We're recording this late May, and I'm currently in the process of moving it to Beehive from Substack. My dearest, sincerest, most powerful hope is that by June 1st, the migration is complete and I am perma off Substack, but it's still in process. So, like, check out my social and eventually my newsletter will be sorted out, hopefully by early June. JeannaKadlec.com is my website, though, and that should have updated links for you at some point this month. The big news I have this month, however, is that since it is, as B said, halfway through the fucking year, that means that on June 29th, my annual workbook that is full of ideal astrological elections for working writers and artists will go on sale for 50% off. So stay tuned. That's going to be coming and we'll definitely drop in the newsletter, which, for the love of God, if I am not off Substack by June 29th, you have my permission to like hold me hostage in a room until it's all done.
Migrations are a big deal. Like, new website, new newsletter, moving your newsletter to a new place is so much work. So, like, much respect to you both, and smooth transitions. It's monstrous. All my shit's in the same place. I'm still on Ghost writing newsletters, and I'm still at 3amtarot.com hanging out and making things. If you are someone that is local to New York City, I'm doing a number of really cool events throughout the summer. I'm going to be pulling cards at the New York Public Library's Queer Magic Night on June 5th, if you were around. I'm also going to be pulling cards at the Morgan Library, which is badass as fuck. They have a really cool new tarot exhibit that's going to be going up, and I will be pulling cards there on August 21st. So if you're in New York City, either because you live here or you're visiting, come through. Let's pull some cards together and hang out. And also for New York City people, I run a monthly tarot meetup at Astoria Bookshop. We wear masks, we pull cards, we hang out. It's lovely. It's the last Tuesday of every month. So you're always welcome to come to those as well. But if you're not local to New York City, most of my work is in fact on the internet. I just happen to be doing a bunch of in-person events right now. So I want to keep shouting out my Hermitage membership program, formerly known as the Conservatory. It's going strong. We're doing some cool like monthly co-working sessions and some lovely hangs. And I am putting together some two big new classes that are going to be Hermitage exclusives, including a part 2 of my flagship tarot numerology class, Doubles and Digits. So those are going to be launching in the autumn. So if those are things you're interested in, get in the membership now and get started, and then you'll be here when things release every month. So should be a good time.
Yay!
Yeah.
Queer Magic Night at the library sounds so
They're
cool.
having dungeons and drag queens. They're gonna have live music. They're gonna have all these like exhibits of like Stonewall and queer history. It's at the big flagship like main one on Fifth Ave with the big lions, and I'm so excited about it. It's gonna be great.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
it's gonna be very cool.
Yeah, I guess happy Pride Month
Oh my
to
God, yeah, I guess this is the June forecast, isn't it? Happy
all
Pride.
the queers listening. I know. That's a strange lens to look at this month through.
Yeah,
So I don't know that I'm gonna do it, but
I think
happy
you have
Pride.
to.
Yes, these months really, from a numerological standpoint, really are starting to reveal a rhythm this year of rolling into one another and also being able to be seen as these little couplets because our numbers, we can look at our core number of the month, but we can also look at just what does the month give us itself. So like June is the sixth month of the year, but we're in a 10-1 year, so we're looking at a 16-7 overall month. We were dealing with 5 and 6 in May, so we got like a little preview of 6 energy, and now it's following us into June, and then 7 will follow us into July. So we have this opportunity to see like little mini forecasts into the next month. But also, just we're sure in a wheel year. I said this at the top, and I'll say it again. This 10-1 energy really does have us experiencing all everything. It's like everything, everywhere, all at once. And yet, we're having slightly to radically different experiences of everything that's going on. So, halfway through the year, if we have our heads on at all straight, I think we're doing great because this year's been throwing everything at us so far. So June, like I said, 6th month of the year, we're in this 10-1 year, looking at a 16-7 overall month. So last month we talked about turning the page, and I do actually feel at the end of May like we've done that. I feel like a page has been turned, and again, what that means for you might be really different than what it means for me. But the collective piece is that we're like, okay, yeah, something's turned. And now in June, our question is now what? Now what? And that's a question that I've personally been musing on for the last few years. And as far as options on how to answer that question, I can firmly and with expertise say the limit does not exist. There are so many ways to answer the question, now what? Because it's so contextual and so individual, even when we're talking universal concepts. So I thought what I would offer this month is just ways to approach your own question of now what? And maybe to answer it, maybe to get some other related adjacent answers. But 6 and 7 do offer us both the opportunity to get cerebral and practical. So 6 is this mental energy and 7 is practical. So the first thing we can do is to get a little detail oriented and organized. And we're talking eliminating clutter, mental, physical, emotional, psychic clutter. It can be everything from your calendars to your spreadsheets to your that corner in the bedroom that has all the clothes that you've worn for the last 2 weeks.
We
And
don't talk about that corner,
I
okay?
know, I know. I'm really sorry. That's why I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, pride, happy pride to that
Uh,
corner.
Right to the
the
clutter
corner,
corner.
the pile of black clothing that perpetually lives in the corner on my side.
I know, I know. I'm sorry to hate crime everyone on this Pride Month, but
It's Pride Month.
I know, but it needs our attention. And also consecration spells, like any kind of cleansing or consecration work, like if you never leave your tools out in under moonlight or sunlight or do any kind of cleansing, this is the month to do it. Because if we have learned anything from the 16th card of the tarot, the Tower, we will be dealing with rubble. in some form. So getting detail oriented and organized is the first way to approach this now what. The second is to identify your needs, your wants, your responsibilities, your priorities. And maybe this sounds like, more of the same kind of self-care things that you're hearing from all angles. But truly, you need to know the proportions of the pie before you can properly cut it into pieces and figure out how you're going to approach. So from this place now in June 2026, what do you need? What do you want? What are you responsible for? And in what order do you need to put all of those things priority-wise? Then some questions, because we can't talk about 7 without talking about questions. Specifically in times of challenge or upheaval, ask yourself, first and foremost, what does success look like and what are the ways in which I am already successful? This is a strengths-based approach, some might call it. So we're looking at success, reframing it for ourselves, but also identifying the ways in which we're already doing the thing. Then we can talk about how we're stuck. How am I stuck? And I'm going to throw a little cognitive behavioral therapy at you. What are the
Hey.
thoughts, feelings, and behaviors associated with my stuckness? So, CBT therapy, not for everyone, but it really breaks down what are the thoughts I'm having? What are the feelings that are attached to those thoughts? Not the same thing, but very entwined. And then what are the behaviors and the actions that are associated with my feeling stuck? So, what is success? Exploring stuckness, and then also how have I made changes before? Were there any processes or practices that I put to use that I can try again now? So, really asking ourselves in times of challenge or upheaval, how are we successful? Let's explore how we're still stuck. And then, how have you made changes before, and how might you implement those same methods here now? So, again, we're in our mind and we're in our boots on the ground, practical, how do we move forward? June is not really a feelings based month, although it might drum up a lot of feelings for us, right? We don't necessarily love to always be moving in ways that don't take our feelings into account and that also might like have us a little dysregulated. So this is where I want to highlight 2 aspects of 6 and 7 that can be really gentle and something for us to think about when we're in our feels and as we're moving through. So first of all, find places where warmth, 6, meets depth, 7. So remember that caretaking is part of 6 energy. There are so many things that we have to do as a part of daily modern life, and it can get really exhausting. So in June, we're asking ourselves, what feels warm? What feels good? And how can I remember to give myself those things more often in tandem with doing all the things that we don't want to do, but we have to because we're just little bodies. And then I had a note for my chronic illness girlies, gender neutral, and disabled girlies. When I was thinking about like what feels good, I was like, sometimes it's nice to use a heating pad when you don't need one. And that's just my way of saying that sometimes when we need tools to get us through pain or other flares or episodes or experiences, then they get connected to those experiences. And then when they're over, we're like, well, I don't want to use that anymore because that means that I'm in pain or that means that I'm sick. But some tools rule on their own. So just maybe you could reclaim a heating pad, hot water bottle, fill in the blank, whatever it is to create warmth instead of pain. And then 7 is a meaning making number, right? It's a questioning, a number of depth. And so this is when we can really make meaning out of our experience no matter our circumstances. So 7 is human nature under the microscope. It is life weighed and measured in search of a central truth. So in June, we can lean into our spiritual practices that really help us to hold hard and multifaceted truths, including just how simply out of control we really are in this lifetime and how uncertain and ever changing this life experience is. So 6 and 7 and also 16 really remind us that new beginnings can feel sweet, but they can also feel like catastrophe. I think it's like not an either or, maybe hopefully not a both and, but um, it's really easy to question ourselves when not everything is clear and we're still kind of moving one foot in front of the other through fog. But we also have to touch in with those tender twigs of like anything is possible right now. So in June, if you're sitting in chaos, really let that connect you to your creative energy, your creative curiosities, and to ask what's now, now what? Well, what's now possible? What do you want? And uh, if you need if you need an icon for the month of June, maybe a queer icon even, I couldn't help but think about "Life Finds a Way," the Jeff Goldblum quote from Jurassic Park. So I think that's June. Life finds a way. And if you need help getting through, get organized, identify your needs, look at success, caretake, make meaning, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, the astrology is really in conversation with the numbers this month. To your earlier point, B, about the everything everywhere all at once, I had a really hard time trying to summarize June, astrologically speaking. And perhaps that is because it is a study in contrasts this month. On the one hand, we are moving from mercurial, breezy, chatty, idea sharing, idea generating Gemini to Cancer season, which begins on the summer solstice on June 21st. And Cancer is water. It is the headwaters of the Mississippi, just north of Minneapolis, where all the tributaries finally start coming together and they gain momentum, and many inputs become identifiable as one river, and it gains in both speed and size rapidly. But it is still water, and even a river as mighty as the Mississippi does not move as quickly as air molecules. So there is a certain returning to the body and slowing, not quite slowing down, but there is a certain groundedness and a certain return to center that is happening as we move from Gemini to Cancer season. A certain like coming from the head down into the heart space that requires, it just requires our attention. And this is doubly true because Mercury, the planet of communication and the intellect, is also in Cancer for the whole month. And also, Mercury is stationing retrograde in the second retrograde of 2026 on the 29th. So we are going to get a good long while of Mercury in Cancer this summer over June and July. I'm going to talk more about this in the finances cauldron, but suffice it to say that our conversations are slowing down this month. They have to be filtered through the heart space. We have to trust our instincts and our intuition and have the confidence to go at our own pace. But contrast, because by the end of the month, the Sun and Mercury will be the only planets in water. All the other planets, and there will be no planets in Earth. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all going to be in fire and air signs by the end of June. So there is a contrast between, on the one hand, needing to run our conversations and our ideas through the heart space with this energetic, like kinetic chaos fireball everywhere of activity that is going to be happening with all of the other planets. And so, my practical advice on a very basic level is take care of yourself. This month is going to feel a little herky jerky for everyone, whether you were like, yes, give me air and fire. Oh my God, let's go fast. Q1 was so slow. Or whether you're like, no, I need time to process. I move at the pace of a river. Like, everyone is going to have to deal with some kind of energy that they do not find comfortable this month because both of those ways of being are very loud. So honestly, like, thank fuck that the lunations are relatively chill. We have a new moon in Gemini on the 14th of June at 24 degrees, and while it is technically unaspected, it is the first time that we will be having a new moon in Gemini co-present with Uranus. Honestly, my instinct is that this is probably going to be more on the energizing, like breaking shit open in a good way kind of side of things, because Uranus's rebellious, quicksilver nature is very symbiotic with Gemini energy, much more so than it ever was with Taurus. Definitely pay attention to any changes or light bulb moments that you have during or around this new moon, since it is sort of a preview. It's this first new moon seed with Uranus in that Gemini house of your chart. So we're paying attention to what it might indicate about the next 8 years of change that you will be having in this area of life. And then for the folks who prefer a slower pace, we have the full moon in Capricorn on June 29th at 8 degrees. The Cap moon is also moving, like it's a wider square, but it's still a square. It's moving toward a square with Saturn. So definitely a moon to take it easy during, to rest during. Do not rush. Those of you who are listening closely may have noticed that I said we will have Jupiter in a fire sign come the end of the month. And that is because once a year or so, Jupiter changes signs. And this year, Jupiter moves from Cancer to Leo on June 30th. I have mixed feelings about this, honestly, because on the one hand, I personally, like just me and my life, me and my chart, I fucking love Jupiter in a fire sign. Jupiter is all things expansive, opportunity, creating our own luck, expanding our beliefs, and stretching our capacity beyond what we thought was possible. Like, Jupiter is a fucking baller, and I love him. But, like, again, Jupiter in fire, go big or go home, the definition, is joining all of these other planets in air and fire and bringing that go big or go home energy to all of them. And the thing is, for the last year, we have had Jupiter in Cancer where he is exalted, where he does very, very well. And that has really helped to cool things off in as much as that has been at all possible on a collective level. Jupiter in Cancer has been doing a lot of work this last year to keep our relationships connected, to really help us return to center, to move from the heart space. And we are losing that water cooling system that has really helped us from collectively overheating, even though it feels like we've overheated 10 times in the last 6 months here in the US. So I am also wondering if once Jupiter leaves Cancer at the end of June, we might, even in as much as this does not feel possible, because I'm like, my brain is broken, I have no idea how it could possibly get more escalated here. I don't know how the fuck ups could be any more explosive, but with Jupiter moving into Leo, that is the one thing. It's like, it kind of feels like one of the last seatbelts, astrologically speaking. Not one of the last seatbelt, astrologically speaking, is like going. I don't say that to fearmonger. I just say that to be like, be mindful, take care of yourself, take care of your people, take care of your heart space, bring your emotional support water bottle.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Do you think that the sun being in Cancer?
No,
Okay.
not even. I mean, because one, the sun, it's like the further away a planet is, the more weight it holds, low key. And Jupiter and Saturn do so much, like, to set the tone, collect. The sun definitely speaks to more of, like, again, it changes signs every month. Like, the sun and the moon are much more reflective of the everyday ins and outs. But when we get into the astrological, like, big picture, considering a generation or considering the span of a few years, we're really looking at what Jupiter and Saturn are doing. And so, you know, they were both in water signs for a little while there, and then Saturn moved into Aries, and now Jupiter's moving into, and it was also helpful because Jupiter in Cancer, much more powerful than Saturn was in either Pisces or is in Aries. But Jupiter's going into Leo, which in and of itself is not like bad. Jupiter in Leo, it has no essential dignity, but that means it's not extremely strong, but it's also not debilitated. but Jupiter in Leo is also so hot and so activating. And I'm not the first astrologer to say this. A lot of people have been speculating that, like, the Jupiter move is probably going to indicate some big explosive stuff this summer, especially given that then, like, a week later, less than, we have that Mars Uranus conjunction on the 4th of July. Like, listen, I know that
Wow.
we are not doing any, Meg and I, we aren't doing shit for the 4th. You could not pay me to go outside astrologically on that day, but that's for the July forecast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
July's problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, but
But
based
yeah.
on the numerology, July is connected to June through 7, and
Mhm.
7 is like, okay, we'll wait and see. Who can say?
Well, it
Can
is
say?
wait and see who can say. We're gonna see
Yeah.
what the fuck happens. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool. But again, on personal levels, it can be really nice. Like, I'm real personally, I'm super stoked for Jupiter and Leo for me. But, anyway.
Yeah, Jupiter's moving from my second house in Cancer, which has been lovely, into my third house, where my moon also is, and I'm finishing up a book. So, like, you know, I think
Yeah,
it's gonna be great personally. Collectively, I don't know, but personally, I'm excited.
yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be fine. Everything's great. We're all doing so great. So I'm here with the tarot forecast, and this is a little bit different than astrology or numerology because I'm pulling cards with like a specific question or intention. So if you're new here, or if you just don't remember what I do, I tend to pull 3 cards, generally a theme, a truth, and a dare. And these are not predictive. It's more just offering you some advice, some ways of thinking about the month ahead, maybe a tool that you can have in your knapsack, or a bit of medicine that might be a soothing balm when you need it. But the card that I pulled for our theme card for June 2026 is actually the Three of Swords, which in the Muse Tarot, which is what I used, and I actually still have it right here next to me, the Muse Tarot, it's called the Three of Voices, which I think is nice because it's a little bit of a different vibe, right? As opposed to 3 swords piercing a heart like we see in the Rider-Waite-Smith. Three of Voices is like a little triad of voices, a little trio, a little choir, right? So, standard definitions of the Three of Swords tend to look at words like heartbreak or betrayal or harsh revelations, someone just straight up hurting us, right? We tend to associate this with heartache or heartbreak. And I'm not going to pretend that this card can never represent that, right? Like you get to make your own meanings for the cards, but a lot of people tend to feel that that is correct or accurate when it comes to the Three of Swords. But I also love the Three of Swords. I think the Three of Swords can offer us a really gentle and useful reminder that we might be hearing something that, while true, might still be presented in a way that feels painful. And it can help us really understand what is being activated, or how we are processing that information or that truth, and just have some context for slowing down and not necessarily reacting right away to what's happening. So I want to remind you that 3 in general is a number of outpourings, an expression of sharing our hearts and our minds and our desires and ideas with other people, not just owning them ourselves, but also letting them take up space in the tangible world. And the Suit of Swords is tied to the element of air, which is information and communication and perceptions, facts and fictions, and the stories that we tell ourselves. So the Three of Swords generally can be a card about truths that just need to be expressed, or information that really needs to be shared, or ideas that need to be witnessed and heard. Jeanna said breaking shit open in a good way about that new moon in Gemini present with Uranus, and that's what I was thinking about actually, is this Three of Swords energy. Shit that needs to be broken, like information that needs to be shared, revelations that need to happen so that we can acknowledge what's present and actually start using it instead of like hiding it or being afraid to look at it. So for our theme for June 2026, the Three of Swords asks that we pay attention to the truths that bubble up when we least expect them, the truths that we've been trying to hide from ourselves or maybe from other people, to any words that might pour out even if we've been trying to keep them in, or to the information that we are giving and receiving. We all have blind spots, every single one of us. And we all also have truths that we want others to witness, things about ourselves, things that we're thinking, things that we're feeling, that we need other people to see and receive and understand. So think about, what are you willing to let other people know about you, even if it makes you anxious? In what ways do you want to be seen, even if it scares you? How are you bringing other people into your truth, even if you aren't sure how they'll receive it? And what risks are you willing to take to share your own story, even if you're not sure how those risks will turn out or play out? I think this is a good opportunity to really be thinking about that lovely Gemini energy and really considering what we're putting out into the world, how it's being received, how we might be trying to control it, and also how we're taking energy in, what pieces of the truth we're willing to sit with versus if we're willing to take in the whole thing. So the truth and the dare are really just personal challenges that you can take or leave, but they're just some additional ways of engaging with them at the head. Our truth is an opportunity to dig deep internally, to ask ourselves some reflective questions or consider what we're ready to confront. And I pulled another 3 card, but this is the 3 of Pentacles, which in the Muse Tarot is called the 3 of Materials, which again, I really love as a relabeling, just a little bit more tangible, a little easier to get our heads around. 3 of Pentacles is a card of teams and resources, right? This is building something from the ground up, putting together a first draft or a first effort with the assets that we already have access to. Sometimes the 3 of Pentacles is called like the squad card, right? It's like the people that are by your side and like moving with you through things. But I really like to think of it like you're activating all of the resources that you already have by your side. Not just in the magician way where you're kind of laying them out on the table and looking at what you have, but in a 3 of Pentacles way where you're actually using those things to build the foundation of something. You're starting to create it and you're starting to put it out in the world and let it take up space, right? We've got that 3 energy again, but now we're in the realm of the physical, the tangible, the sensual, the daily life, the ways that we feed ourselves, the ways that we rest, the ways that we move, the ways that we're active, all of those kinds of things. So as a truth card, I would encourage you this month to ask yourself, what am I actually actively in the process of building? Not what I wish I was building or what I'm telling myself I'm building or what I'm trying to build. What am I actually in the process of building? What is my work and my magic actually being poured into, and what is starting to really take shape in front of me? And maybe who's on my team, right? Who's offering support? Who is showing up? Who is helping me move forward? Who is helping me figure out what my next steps are? And what might I have access to already that I am not utilizing to its full potential? The last card is our Dare card. This is an external challenge, a call to action, something to consider, something you can push yourself to try. And I pulled the Queen of Wands, which I love for all of us getting that fire energy in there. In this deck, it's called the Queen of Inspiration. But for me personally, the Queen of Wands is a card of courage and loyalty and doing the damn thing. This is the do it scared card, or, be afraid, stay afraid, do it anyway energy. For me personally, the Queen of Wands shows up when I've done everything I need to do to prepare to do something big and bold that might scare me, and I just haven't quite done the actual thing yet. The Queen of Wands usually shows up to give me the kick in the ass I need to actually do the damn thing. This figure really understands, I think, that their fire and their strength and their magnetism, it makes them uniquely qualified to not only protect the people and the values that they cherish, but also to bring creativity and love and heat and passion into every single thing that they do. So hopefully this is maybe a gentler way to think about the fire energy that we're going to be moving into, or that big Jupiter in fire energy. This month, I dare you to do the thing you really want to do, but you keep putting off. I dare you to let yourself burn brightly and be seen for the courageous, badass person that you are. I dare you to stand up for what matters to you, and I dare you to refuse to back down when it comes to the dreams that you believe in. This is a card of taking up space, of unapologetically fighting for what we believe in, and I don't know what we're going to be dealing with over the course of this summer, but I think given that we're in Pride Month and we're moving into some big Jupiter and Leo energy, I think there might be some opportunities for us to harness our fear, but step forward and share the truth and say the things that need to be said and use the information and assets that we have to make real change. So go forth and be brave, my friends.
Felt like that was directly for me. So
It can be,
you're welcome that I let you listen to my private reading with Meg Jones Wall.
So brave of you, really, modeling that courage for all of us.
Yeah. If you listen to our conversation on life cycle of a reading, just continue to be vulnerable. No, no, thank you for all of that. I took personal notes. I did. I was like, okay.
I love that.
Queen of Wands is such a well, the tension between the Three of Swords and the Queen of Wands are it's such like a perfect encapsulation of the fire air.
Yeah.
It's like with confidence, but the Three of Swords. So
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it does a really, and I really like the way the Three of Materials kind of like is anchoring
Hmm.
all of that in a way of like ultimately lean on other people.
Yeah.
Like it's a group project. Like the collective problems are a group project. Like it's not on
Yeah.
any one individual. I don't know. It just like having the Three of Pentacles there really feels like very lean on me energy,
Hmm.
like the song.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like that.
I like that too.
Should we
Okay.
cauldron?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Let's go to the
cauldron.
cauldron.
We're
Okay.
like, we're not looking to synthesize anything at this point.
It's like, I don't know if I have anything else I can
I
say
know.
about this. Like the cards were so loud. I was like, I just work here. I don't know what
We're
we're
just
doing.
here. Yeah. June is gonna be what June is gonna be,
It's
and
gonna be what it is.
For cauldrons this month, we are looking at kind of a continuation of our tropes in June. So for numbers, our trope is the quest. And
mm,
the quest trope is all about the journey. With this trope, characters travel for an extended amount of time to reach a specific destination. So for money, we're looking at goals, we're looking at long-term goals. They'll likely face their fears and dangers on this journey, and in the end, they'll discover that it's the journey that really matters. It's the friends we made along the way.
It's always the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. But this really feels like a continuation of the second chance romance trope, which
Mhm.
in May told us it's never too late.
Mhm.
So, however you're starting in June when it comes to finances, it's not necessarily indicative of how you're going to end June. So, again, we're on a quest. There is a longer story being written here. So, we're trusting the process. And also, just if these key terms of like extended amount of time, reaching a specific destination, if you have tangible life circumstances and context to put on that, do it and see kind of what story is playing out for you.
Mhm.
and it might be a really tender story, because this month with finances and astrology, we are digging into the emotional aspects of money. Money is just so fucking emotional, period. But on June 1st, like literally on June 1st, Mercury, again, the planet of money and commerce, as well as communication and ideas, moves into Cancer, where these topics become very sensitized to our childhoods and to the past and our earliest caregivers and our inherited family and cultural stories and expectations around money. Plus, Mercury will station retrograde here on June 29th, like I said earlier. So it just really underscores that these themes are fucking here for the summer. And this invites some mindful emotional excavation around our oldest money stories. I like the quest trope as an image for this. This isn't getting real with yourself about money in like a harsh make a budget kind of way. This is like it's an invitation to get real in a way that's like intentionally opening up the musty trauma attic, have a plan for aftercare, drink water, get yourself a nice treat, be kind to yourself. But we will all benefit for being willing to look in some of those cluttered corners.
Well, I pulled temperance for us, so
That's fine.
That's beautiful.
That's fair.
keep it kind and sweet over here. Feels very in line with what you both have said, honestly. But I think remembering where temperance shows up in the journey, to put it in the context of the quest, temperance follows death. This is us kind of reorienting and finding our way back to self after a major shift or a big boundary has been set, or, some kind of rule has been enforced, something that's forcing us to kind of reevaluate and tend to ourselves, to gently assess where we are, to heal with intention, and to really find a way to move with grace and care. So temperance to me just feels like another archetype that you can use to really think about what this month might have in store for you. Really just bringing compassion to your finances this month, being kind to yourself, even as you do that tough work of understanding your own stories and traumas and necessary actions. You're allowed to have gentleness. You're allowed to have softness. You don't have to do it by yourself if you don't want to, even though some of these things might feel really personal. I think temperance is just a lovely balm for like moving slowly and with care. And yes, aftercare is important. Like put it in your calendar and then like schedule something nice and sweet for yourself afterwards, like whatever you need to do, but be intentional about it.
Okay, moving on to home. This one's a little spicy. I'm not gonna lie. So last month, our trope was found family. And here in June, we're talking about the off-limits crush.
Oh
So
boy.
the off-limits crush is all about forbidden love. A character has sworn off dating or seeing another character. Perhaps the relationship would be toxic, ill-advised, or even dangerous. But the heart wants what it can't have. So I feel like some of you may have taken a look around you and gotten a little Twitter pated by someone in your circle.
Mm.
But another way of looking at this is that you might in June be meeting some kind of resistance still around the concepts of who belongs in your home or in your family system, right? So, found family, off limits crush, there's some kind of tension here or resistance. And this might even be within yourself, like you really wanting someone to play more of a role than they're playing in things, or they're playing too big a role and you'd like them to be playing less of a role. There's some negotiation here. Uh, get curious is the practical advice. Get really curious. Usually, resistance is information about where you need to go deeper.
So, with the astrology of home, I always look at which rising signs have the lunations falling in their fourth house of family, home, roots, heritage, cultural legacy, things like that. Parents, grandparents, primary caregivers, also quite technically. And based on what B said, I am gonna talk about Libra risings first. So, Libra risings have the full moon in Capricorn on the 29th, highlighting this part of their chart and this part of their life. And full moons indicate that something is coming to a close or a kind of chapter ending peak in a long process. And that may have begun around the new moon in Capricorn earlier this year on January 18th. For Libra risings, because this is landing in your fourth, because the ruler of the moon is Saturn, because the ruler of the moon is currently in Aries, which is your seventh house of partnership, this may especially have to do with partners, romantic or business, and possibly with tension around like familial or cultural expectations vis-a-vis a long-term partnership. Obviously, that won't be everyone, but this, like the tension between the moon and its ruler for Libra risings really leaped out at me, like leapt out. It might be a bit bumpy, but lean into Mercury and Cancer as medicine. Be vulnerable and real with your communication, you know, bumpy ride, but we get through it. And then a little bit less dramatic, I think, of a lunation highlighting home and family is for Pisces risings. You have the new moon in Gemini on the 14th in your fourth house. And again, like I said earlier, this is a new beginning around home, family that is co present with Uranus and consequently is connected to an 8-year story for you. We're at the very beginning of that 8-year story. So, Pisces risings, just pay attention. Seemingly small things around home and family might have big ripples down the line.
Cool. Well, I pulled the Seven of Wands, so really I'm just gonna kind of echo everything that B said, actually, because I think that giving yourself space to think about what you really want, what you're willing to fight for, what's activating you, but also what you're really passionate about, is a useful thing to think about around home this month. I think also just thinking about not only what you care about, but also what you don't really care about. I think around home stuff, sometimes we can get in the habit of fighting for something and then realize that we don't even actually care that much about it. So I think this is a good opportunity to really think about what we actually want versus what we think we should want, right? I think there's a lot around getting caught up around how things are supposed to look and feel in our homes or in our family units or in our roommate situations or the way that our house is organized or whatever, how we're supposed to design our homes, what kinds of things we're supposed to own, all of these other kinds of shoulds. But it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your home is your home. And the rules that other people keep for their houses or how they keep their homes, how they maintain their homes, really has nothing to do with you at all. So I think make this month, pay attention to that seven energy, dig deep, pay attention to where resistance is. Like B said, resistance is information about where to go deeper. Try to push all the shoulds to the side and really allow your true desires and your needs to call the shots. Investigate the passion and figure out what it's trying to tell you.
I really do love eliminating the word should from
Hmm.
my life and
Easier
vocabulary.
said than done, but yeah, anytime I notice myself saying should too many times, it's like, okay, we gotta slow down here and figure out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Okay, well, I love that everybody kind of talked about partnership too
Hmm.
in home. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of two love, like connected. Something about love
Hmm.
in home is connected this month. But for love specifically, we were in the slow burn, and now we're in newfound superpowers. I branched out. I don't know if you could tell, but I branched out from my romance tropes.
Hmm. I
So
like
the
it.
newfound, cool. The newfound superpowers trope is a classic within the sci-fi and superhero world. And so the main character discovers that they have a superhuman ability, and we follow them as they learn to harness and use their powers. So you can think the Spider-Man montage of him trying to get a handle on the web once he is able to do that. And I really love this trope for love this month. It feels like last month we were dealt this slow burn, and now because of that, we have all these newfound powers to explore.
Hmm.
So it feels like, if you committed, then you were rewarded. And so, how fun to get to experience the fruits of your labors in June. So, I don't know. I feel kind of curious and interested to see, like, it feels like love might be a little shining light
Hmm.
in an otherwise twisty, turny month. That's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe I got from a numerological standpoint.
I think that's definitely true with the astrology. Venus moves from cozy Cancer to showy, grand gesture Leo on June 13th. And it feels correct that halfway through Pride, Venus is moving into the sign that is so deeply about self-expression as the ultimate form of authenticity. Like, Venus in Leo is a showgirl. She is a drag queen. She is going topless at Dyke March and jumping in the fountain at Washington Square Park. So this is like really fun energy to start the summer with, and I do agree, B, that I think it's gonna be a bright spot in the month. That said, um, in love and relationship, I would expect some buzzy and perhaps seemingly quick changes, like big changes, mid-month, especially for folks who are single or who are otherwise in a moment of transition in a relationship or long-term partnership. And I say this because Venus will sextile Uranus, the outer planet, which is like on the 15th. So this is very jump to the left, step to the right. Venus sextile Uranus is very like, oh God, something is different. Then on the 16th, the next day, she will make a trine to idealistic Neptune, really moving toward that which is most desired. And then on the 17th, she will oppose Pluto, which is very much a stress test around power dynamics and one's ability to self assert. And so to me, the fact that this particular trio or trinity of days mid-month where Venus is literally hitting the outer planets in sequential order like she's at a fucking speed dating event really gives the impression that something that has needed to change is finally shaking loose and having the space to like grow or develop or like maybe even come to a close. And then on the 25th, Venus is going to trine Saturn, which Venus trine Saturn, I love. It's very supportive for art making, also, lots of artists and writers listening to this podcast. But Venus trine Saturn in relationships is like really helpful for locking in those changes, committing to whatever is new or has been shaken off. And so I think whatever is changing in your major relationships is probably good, is probably overdue. Even if it feels sudden, it probably isn't. Trust the process, and by the 25th, I think that things will be settling. So,
Cool. Okay. Well, I pulled justice for our love card for the month, which I think is interesting, and I think is honestly like if love is like a topic that's really on your mind, I would actually encourage you to like find your deck, pull out the justice card, and like spend some time journaling with this card because I think justice is one of those cards that can have really personal meanings for different people. There's a lot of different ways to take it. So I'm going to offer some general thoughts, but if it doesn't vibe with you, I mean, this is always true, but especially in this case, if this doesn't vibe with you, forget what I said, and like think about it for yourself, like genuinely. I think justice could be like an intent versus impact kind of thing when it comes to love, like thinking about the ways that sometimes we have a really specific idea in mind about what we're trying to accomplish, and it just comes off in a completely different way that then we have to sort of untangle. But what I was thinking about a lot with justice is actually idealism and the things that we might idealize about a relationship, about another person, about someone else's situation or their deal. I think it can be easy to kind of get caught up in a perceived kind of perfection or a fantasy or an imagined perfection rather than focusing on the actual reality of a situation. And when there's too much idealism, some idealism is good. I'm in a love and life path. I'm with you. But like if it gets too much, then it makes it hard to actually see what's actually happening in front of you and solve the problems that actually exist in your relationship or, whatever it may be. So I think it's possible that justice could be asking us to balance our most romantic, perfect notions of our biggest fantasies of what something might be or could become with our most pragmatic truth, and to not let a lack of perfection keep us from appreciating the good that might be right in front of us, right? In love this month, whatever love means for you, whether we're talking romance or, a platonic friendship or a friendship thing, or, sorry, I mean like a familial thing or like a roommate thing, whatever it is we're talking about when it comes to your relationships, consider the difference between what you want and what you have, and where there might be some overlap and where things might be really, really separate. What is the actual truth of your situation? And what do you know versus what are you still trying to figure out or clarify for yourself? That's kind of what came up for me, but if you have a very different read on justice and love, like get in the comments. I'm so serious because I was fascinated by this card for love this month, especially with so many things going on like astrologically. So, yeah.
Cool.
Mhm,
Cool.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I also, only because you just put out the call, I also feel like the traits, like the idealized version, could
Mhm.
be standing in the way of appreciating what you have.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
And
trying to say. That's a way more concise way of
no, no,
saying
no.
it. Yeah.
No, I just think like so often we're like, oh, I'm idealizing this person. And I was thinking, well, the opposite can be true as well. Like
Yeah.
idealizing the idea, like
Yeah.
idealizing a
Mhm.
person and then sleeping on someone great
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're like stuck on this fantasy that
It
doesn't.
also makes me think about like the fantasy versus the reality of like I don't know
Mhm.
if anyone else loved Anne of Green Gables growing up, but Anne dates this guy in like the third book for a while, and he is like the tall, brooding, handsome hero of her dreams. He's every fantasy she's ever had. He sweeps her off her feet. They meet in the most romantic way, but when he proposes, she's like, wait, no, I can't marry you. She's like, this brooding, like dark fantasy man, like seemed great on paper, but the reality of being with him is not what I want. And then, of course, she realizes she's meant for Gilbert because, of course, she's meant for Gilbert. Get your shit together, Anne. But, sometimes you have to move through that.
Love the episode, Get Your Shit Together, Anne.
Me perpetually. I love Anne of Green Gables so much, and I also want to shake her sometimes. But yeah, that's what it's making me think about too, is like the way that you can let this fantasy idea of a quality or a type or what a relationship might look like get in the way of either what the actual person is or what the reality of that situation looks like. So,
Before we leave the love cauldron,
yeah.
um, that sounds away. But before we
We
do,
all get up out of the hot tub and move to the next one.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Like in the hydrotherapy circuit,
yeah.
that's the cauldrons. Yeah. What you were talking about with justice, Meg, before we got into the Anne of Green Gables of it all. Honestly, like everything, like the newfound superpower, but then all of these Venus stories and then the justice, I was like, there's something here too, at least for folks who are very public, for whom Venus and love can also be relationship with audience around like a bubble bursting, around some kind of parasociality, like changing, or like a nice little pin in the balloon, in a way that's ultimately helpful. Ultimately, I don't know, just like we've been talking so much about like idealizing people and all this stuff, and it feels very, you know, what you worship is what you give your attention to. And like kind of maybe having a little bit of a heart to heart check in about where we're putting our attention, which is Venus.
Love that.
Okay. Calling us all out for our obsessions and our pedestalizing
Okay,
of
listen. Also,
quantum media.
sometimes
Okay.
for fun. Did I say that B looked like Ilya Rozanov at the top of this before we started recording? Yes, I did.
Mhm,
Sometimes they're
mhm,
fun, but like, yeah,
I know.
mhm.
No, I that tracks. That totally tracks. And I'm really glad that you said that
Yeah, I think that's
because
really cool. I think that's helpful.
yeah, and I also think we don't this could I know we've been talking about the cauldrons and
Hmm.
like whether or not they're useful, and I think this is another way that maybe I've pigeonholed myself into
mm,
answering these
Totally.
questions, like thinking about love as relationship and like collective love as
Hmm.
being relationship between figure and audience or figure and obsession, you know, whatever that looks like, I think is really powerful and especially in our social media age where we feel all of these connections to
yeah.
people and organizations that we're never going to interact with.
Yeah.
hmm I don't know. I mean, for all that Venus, like I talk about in my newsletter, I talk about her mostly as like a patron of artists and the art we make and etc. And it's true that with love, she does have to do with attraction, but like the intersection of those things is like attracting people to your work and and what attracts you to people's work and what is like a do you, like me, have an intellectual crush on someone like Brennan Lee Mulligan who you will never meet, but you love like the shit they do in public, and just being aware of the distinctions of being a fan and being weird and I don't know. I'll stop talking, but
No,
yeah.
it's true. There's a dark side of being a fan and being weird.
There's
Yep.
and as someone who is frequently on Reddit, dude, do I see it.
Yeah.
God, people
Yeah.
are weird.
Phoebe Bridgers is doing pop-up tours right now. She's like popping up in, and people are being so weird about it, like absolutely creeps. Just, it's so weird to watch. And also, I see it on Reddit. So
Yeah.
if you're a Phoebe fan, stop being weird. Let her live. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, health. Let's get into the health hot tub. Okay,
The health hydrotherapy circuit.
Plunge to close
that
out our
one.
culture.
So this one's a little choose your own pool, choose your own adventure. One feels like a boon, one feels like an omen, but one that I feel like I must deliver, and I'm really sorry. Let's start with the boon. The trope is the outfit upgrade. So, the outfit upgrade trope typically involves a short montage of the leading characters putting on a new super cool outfit. This scene usually occurs before an epic battle or chase. So last month, I will remind you, we had only one bed or only one body. And so maybe you realize that you have a new form that really needs a new way of expressing itself. So this might be really literal, like for your health, you need an outfit upgrade, whatever that looks like for you. This could also mean that you added tools to your toolbox, whether that's, you know, practices, doctors, medication, nutrition, what have you. And these things are now going to help get you through June, you know, so you've upgraded kind of your health kit and it's going to get you through. But this is the one that feels like a boon. The one that feels a little bit like an omen is the ticking clock. So the ticking clock trope is all about pacing and creating suspense. The characters only have a set amount of time to solve the case or rescue the victim, and once time runs out, it's over. So I am not sitting here today saying you're literally going to expire by the end of the month or that time will run out on you. But this is to say that there are realities to having only one body, and some things need to be dealt with faster than others. So, really, really, really take good care of yourself this month, is like the umbrella statement. But if you know things that you need to be handling now, I think the ticking clock could be a swift kick in the pants to just do the thing because you only have one body.
So for the astrology, I'm going to basically summarize everything I've said so far in the last hour. And it is just pack your water bottle, especially toward the end of the month. Again, Mars enters Gemini on June 28th, Jupiter enters Leo on the 30th, and as of then, we will have every planet except the Sun, Moon, and Mercury in fire and air signs. On a collective level, this can and often does look like extreme heat waves, wildfires, drought, air quality issues. And on a personal level, this can look like very physical symptoms like overheating, heat stroke, dizziness, respiration issues. So, my advice for June is just to get in the habit of having water with you, have ice packs in the freezer, stock up on masks. You know, if you live somewhere that's prone to particular, like if you live in a city or anywhere or near a data center, like places where there are things that happen. Of course, you know your body best. You know what you're most prone to symptom wise in cases of extreme weather. I am just saying that the astrology tends to exacerbate and also reflect the weather back to us. And this summer, every astrologer I know is looking at it being like, heat. It's going to be hotter than, I mean, which also you don't fucking need me to tell you that. Like climate change is real, but also plan accordingly. So,
Well, I pulled strength for us, which I mean, literally speaking of Leo, here we
yeah,
are.
yeah.
But also just in general, strength is a card that I associate with things like patience and devotion and purposeful timing, and making choices about how and when to act, being really deliberate instead of just kind of flailing. Okay. This is not a card of like rushing to check things off a list or trying to push through things as quickly as possible, pushing yourself to the limit or overextending yourself. This is really about being patient and present in the moment and really choosing our actions with intention based on the conditions that we find ourselves in, the condition of your body, the condition of the world, whatever it may be. So when it comes to health, slow and steady is the way. I feel like we say this a lot, regardless of what's happening, but I think especially given the heat of it all, given the only one body of it all, you know, given the ticking clock of it all, slow and steady is the way. Don't overdo it. Don't schedule a million appointments for yourself in the same week or in the same day. Don't drastically change your habits without building in the systems to support them. If you decide you want to start a new medication or stop a medication, start a new routine or adjust a routine, you don't need to dive headfirst into it. You can test it out, see how it impacts you, and then adjust accordingly. So show yourself grace and patience, drink a lot of water, pace yourself, you'll be okay.
Mhm.
Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think slow and steady is radical advice when
Yeah.
everything in the overculture
Yeah.
is saying the opposite. So, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we spend a lot of time saying slow down, but there are really loud voices all around us all the time saying go faster.
Mhm.
So,
Or
Yeah.
you're
if
not going
that's,
fast enough. Like,
Yeah, everything feels
yeah,
like a pressure keg right now. Like it's all just amplifying. And with, I mean, I'm thinking so much about like Jupiter moving out of Cancer and like what you were saying about like this was the cooling system that now we're kind of losing. Like it would be worth it to come up with your own cooling system, like to
yeah.
figure out the things that cool you off specifically and start
Yeah.
implementing that before that shift so that you have what you need to take care of yourself on the other side of it.
okay, so in June, we're giving ourselves the timeouts we need.
Yeah.
Take the
Yeah.
time out.
Take the time
Take the
out.
time out.
Yeah.
We're all just big old babies
Yeah, listen.
wandering through this world.
We're all just trying to do the thing, you know?
Yeah, and we're doing great.
Yeah,
Doing
we
great at
are.
being alive.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meg and I run a space called The Grove, and I won't say exactly what was said, but like in a conversation, it's very intergenerational, very cross-generational. Like there are people in their 20s, like going through their Saturn return, and people in their 60s. Like it's really amazing, like the range that we have in there. And it'll be running again this fall. But a conversation we had this month was around age and people just like very openly and honestly discussing like the older I get, the less I know and the wisdom
Mhm.
from that. But also like, because some of the folks who are younger were like, when am I going to figure this out? And, you know, us, but also like all of our elders in the space were like, nah,
You don't.
no, there's
Wrong
no
question.
figuring it out.
Yeah. Like pick a different question. That's not a thing that you're gonna find at some point. Yeah.
But it just like felt
Oh,
very both like humbling and also just so affirming of everything that we've all been saying so far today of like slow and steady, be curious. We don't know, and everyone else is making it up too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. 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 Okay, well, everyone gird your loins and get your water bottles filled to the brim, and we're gonna make
Truly.
it through June 2026.
We're gonna do it.
And especially if you're marching at Pride or doing any protesting, definitely
Yeah.
bring your fucking water bottle.
Yeah.
Like,
Bring a
or
parasol,
bring
bring a
a water
fan.
bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do not send your hospital heat stroke bill to Gina because she will say, I told you.
I will actually say I wish I could pay for this, but I can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yes,
Well,
but yes.
that's a whole different conversation. Wait,
That's a separate episode.
Coming up next, the astrology and magic of the US healthcare system.
Oh my God, no.
oh, I just had
Oh,
I
full
can't.
shudders, like racking
Truly.
my body.
Full
No, but we
nightmare.
don't have a conversation topic for this month. That's an offline conversation, but we'll be back in a few weeks with something for you.
mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah, until then, water bottles, take care, and
Hmm.
we'll see you soon.